Hello, welcome to IDD Talks. I'm Anastasia Lavrina, and our special guest now is Victor Kipiani, chair of the Georgian think tank organization Geocase. Mr. Kipiani, hello and welcome to our program.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We know that this week, President of Azerbaijani Republic Ilham Aliyev had an official visit to Georgia and with a meeting with the Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili. Two sides spoke about the current relation and the future expectations how two countries can enlarge the scope of cooperation. So the first question to you, why do you think this visit is important for two countries and the region itself?
It was really a very timely visit by President Aliyev to Tbilisi, and without over-exaggerating that importance, let us just go a bit into the history. We all remember cross-border transactions and projects, Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan and South Caucasus natural gas pipelines, which were not just about the economics, but laying down the new foundations and the new design for the region. Those projects facilitated putting the region on the map of the global businesses, and that was also important. They also contributed in many respects to bringing our two nations together. Although we're looking into future times, which are turbulent enough, but revisiting what is on agenda and reconsidering some old points or transforming those old points into new initiatives would be very much helpful to find ourselves in the new dynamics of this world. And the last point, why it is important, over the last period of time, we've had about number of regional initiatives, which some of them interesting enough, some probably not very much. But from my perspective, and I would endeavor to make that projection that for a foreseeable future, most of the foundations of the regional structure would be based on bilateral relations. And that being said, Georgian-Azerbaijani relations have been, that's why I went to the history, and still remain as among the key pillars of that regional network. And as I've said, it's not just about the businesses, but it's about attempts from both sides to establish a type of stability, which is also important not just for Azerbaijan and Georgia, but for Armenia as well, because the South Caucasus, which for a long time is associated with instability, trouble, internal conflicts, wars, etc., should finally be free from those associations, and hopefully step by step we will be moving that connotation into the more palatable connotation, where the South Caucasus would be consciously or subconsciously be associated with prosperity, stability, more integration, and more understanding between the nations. So I think, all in all, to conclude my response to your answer, I think that visit marks yet another milestone in developing not only bilateral relations, but the relations in the regional context as well.
Mr. Kipiani, you touched a very sensitive issue, the relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Do you think that the peace is possible in the nearest time to happen?
Yeah, let us straighten out that question very cautiously and realistically as well. To start with, when we speak about the various ingredients of accomplishing the regional peace, of course, it is the must for demarcation and delimitation of state borders to be established. That's very important, and I think that both Azerbaijan and Armenia should be ready for a reasonable negotiation in that respect. The second point, I think that the fallout of the second Nagorno-Karabakh war sends clear messages, not to Baku only, but to Yerevan as well. And from Georgian perspective, from Georgian standpoint, of course, I personally would very much welcome if certain aspects of Armenian foreign policy would be reconsidered and would be brought more in line with those regional developments which we've touched on very briefly just now. Another glimpse of hope when we speak about bringing Armenia into the remit of the regional developments. Are the good prospects of hopefully good prospects? I'm just crossing my fingers of signing the peace treaty between Azerbaijan and Armenia. That would be a huge step of meaningful importance, not just for those two countries, but for Georgia as well. And the second point, reinvigorating various diplomatic efforts by Turkey to set up a proper relations with Armenia, to restore the diplomatic ties. So I think that's all in all that could lead us to sort of very cautious, but still some optimism that we're on the way of that overarching regional stability. And the final point, which I should necessarily mention, which definitely we're not forgetting it, we should not be forgetting about the war in Ukraine, which also puts some extra strings on us, Azerbaijan and Armenia, to reconsider the future outlook for the world and the future outlook for the region. As we all remember, for a considerable time, we were sort of, the no man's land. We were hanging in geopolitical vacuum. And of course, it's very difficult to make any sort of, specific predictions about times or conditions of ending the war in Ukraine. But what is obvious that regardless of those specific conditions and times, that end of the war in Ukraine would also signal a new regional landscape, new sort of reshuffling the balance of great powers, Russia and Turkey in the first instance. Would also could be expecting more sort of more tangibility of the West presence in the region. Let us not forget the very important negotiations which President Aliyev has had with EU high officials, ranking officials, about extra supplies of Azeris energy to EU. So I mean, step by step, as I've said, we're gradually approaching different picture. The picture different from what we've got used over many years. So it took me longer to respond to your question, but I just tried to point out to those sort of facilitating points.
Exactly, that's very important. Let me ask you
to bring all three capitals to the common understanding and some sort of integration, if I may.
Let me ask you another very important issue, because even at these meetings which were held in Georgia this week, Mr. President Ilham Aliyev mentioned that the transport, communication and energy partnership in Europe plays an important role not only for our region, but far beyond, for Europe also. And we know that since the end of the Second Karabakh War, Patriotic War, Azerbaijan is offering many new projects when it comes to transport, communication, logistic development in the region. Also, the importance and significance of Baku-Tbilisi cars project, transport project, it's now on the eve of importance for China, for Europe, for the United States. So you are, as a person who are an expert in this sphere, what kind of cooperation, format of cooperation is more appropriate for Georgia at the moment? Platform 3+3 or any other platforms which can benefit all countries in the region?
As for 3+3, as you probably remember, Tbilisi has rejected so engaging Georgia into that platform for quite obvious reasons. For engaging into that platform, I think that the very basic international standards should be observed, which is sovereignty and territorial integrity, something that Azerbaijan has been pursuing, by the way. So those rules and those standards and those criteria should be equal for all parties involved, including Russian Federation. So definitely you can't sit next at the table when those basic principles are trumped. But that, of course, does not exclude dialogue in different formats. But just the surfaces on my side that when we speak an extra dimension of Georgia-Azerbaijani cooperation, whether it's through Baku-Tbilisi or Baku-Tbilisi cars, the audience knows that Tbilisi and Baku are pursuing a bit of different, let's put it this way, a bit of different foreign policy trajectories. Georgia has been stated on many occasions and constitutionally has provided for irrevocable Euro-Atlantic integration. Same time, Baku pursues more of a multi-vector approach in the region, type of the balancing act, if you will. But that difference, which could be probably striking for some people, could also be very well complementing each other. And I would put this in that way, political readiness of Tbilisi for more and better integration with EU, and same time a readiness by Baku to contribute economically to the European Union sustainability and economic sustainability. That also helps us and Azerbaijan sending a right message to the European Union that we should be considered, let's put it this way in a business term, as a consortium, where each stakeholder has its unique voice, but has its unique contribution as well. And that contribution does not repeat each other. And that is very important. So I think, from that perspective, I tend to say that strong and proper Azerbaijan is not viable without a good partnership with Georgia. And at the same time, sustainability of Georgia, economical and politically, is also very hard to imagine without good and healthy partnership with Azerbaijan. So even pragmatically speaking, just forgetting for a second about personal bonds or human relations, it is pragmatically impossible to move on that way when we speak about the regionality, when we speak about the integration, without that very close and intensive bilateral cooperation.
Well, Mr. Kipiani, thank you so much for joining our program today and sharing with us your valuable experience. It was a pleasure to talk with you about this sensitive and very important issue. Thank you so much.
I was delighted to speak with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Just to remind our viewers, you watched the IDD Talk, and our special guest today is Victor Kipiani, chair of the Georgian think tank organization Geocase. Stay with us. I'm Anastasia Lavrina, and see you in the next edition.